Okay, again?
Can you explain the inner workings of meditation? Like what's going on behind the scenes when we are noting our experiences and repeating mantras or resting our minds within an experience?
Um, well, we can answer from a point of view of the theory of the Abhidhamma, but I don't think we have to go quite so far. It's uh, quite simply put, there's a moment in the mind where you decide about an object. So whether it's seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, feeling, or thinking, these are the 6 doors. So there's the process of experiencing that. First there's the object, then the mind wakes up to the fact that there's an object. This all happens very quickly, but wakes up and it approaches the object, and then it experiences the object. And then it decides about the object. Well, there's another part of recognizing it, associating it with past experiences. But then there's that moment of decision where the mind makes a decision about the object. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it me? Is it mine? All of these things. And maybe not just one moment, but there is, there is said to be that one moment per experience. And it can have all sorts of factors in it. But an ordinary state will usually have likes and dislikes. And we'll have identification as me and mine and so on. So, quite simply put, the noting is a replacement for that. It's a decision that this is this. Right? Our ordinary reaction is this is good, this is bad, this is me, this is mine. Never just this is this. So that reminding, is really the best word possible to describe what we do, and I'm using it more and more these days. Instead of mindfulness or so on, the noting, acknowledging, all those words don't really encapsulate what we're doing. What we're doing is reminding ourselves, reminding. So you bring the mind back to that original experience. This is this, which can be described by the words objective. That is objective. It's objectivity. It's the definition of objectivity, or maybe not the definition, but it's exactly objective, and it's also the truth. It's the definition of observation. You see, when you do a science experiment, way back in high school when I did those kind of things, you have all the observations. That's the key to a good experiment, is accurate observations. So this is an accurate observation. It was really confusing to me when I first learned about Buddhism. When you walk, just walk. When you sit, just sit. So, I was reading these sort of vague concepts, not exactly the way we do it, but it was this general concept of when you walk, just walk. That's not quite how I explain it now, but it's along the same ideas. And I was getting these ideas of, what the heck does that mean? What good is it? What does it accomplish, and so on. It's the key to understanding. So the next thing that occurs in that case, is you start to see the experience as it is, instead of with a deluded mind. You start to realize that our ordinary reactions, our ordinary understanding of our experiences are fraught with delusions and sort of a vagueness, or a lack of clarity that allows for a breeding ground of all sorts of defilements. My teacher would always describe it as darkness. So he would often refer to mindfulness as a light that you shine in. In dark, and it's a good analogy, because in darkness all sorts of bad things grow, right? In darkness, fungus grows, bacteria grows, and If there were no sun, or not sun, in places where there are no sun, like in dark caves and so on, that's where all of the sort of gross stuff grows. But as soon as the sun comes out, if you shine sunlight, this can't grow. It can't fester. And so that's a non-technical, or sort of partially quasi-technical explanation of what happens. I don't know if you want me to, if it's necessary to go any more technical than that. There's not much further you can go. There is some sense that you can have you can have a system of sort of describing the building blocks. So in one sense, this question is asking for an atomic framework, or subatomic, depending, as you would. And so the Abhidhamma tries to provide that. It's quite interesting to find this atomic framework for the mind. And so you can actually study that and see exactly what's going on with the difference. But I think it's quite clear, it's quite simple. And as a result, it's quite easy to dispel a lot of these doubts that I used to have, and a lot of people I met used to have, about this type of practice. What the heck does that do? This mantra of mindless brainwashing, what is that? When in fact it's quite simple and quite clear and quite obviously useful. I mean, maybe not obviously useful, but with a little bit of, being honest with yourself. Another way of describing it is it's a changing of our habits. So over time, this changes the way we look at things in general. So our habit normally is reacting, responding, and inexact, cutting corners in a sense, rather than really examining. We fall into a habit based on what works. So it's worked for us so far, and it's fine. We're able to get along, and that's how the mind works. It's fine with imprecision and imperfection, because it works. It fixed the problem to some extent, and so we get used to this habit of dealing with things in a way that works. Meditation is, this process of seeing things will show you the imperfections in our approach to experience. Sometimes they're quite glaring, and we realize, how did I miss that? We realize that we're really doing things wrong. For the most part, a beginner meditator will see some fairly glaring errors of analysis or processing of experience, and so those will change. You'll naturally change your habits, and you'll start to react differently or respond differently. And so your habits will change. You'll start to have the habit of seeing things as they are, not reacting, being objective, being impartial, being equanimous, being clear, being balanced, being pure. I mean, there's so much incredible benefits to the practice. There's no question how wonderful it is. So that's what's happening, I think. I think that's an explanation, adequate explanation of what's happening. Thanks. Good question.